Matthew 8:23-27. The authority of the king over the storm. Matthew records that after a series of healings and teachings, Jesus entered a boat with his disciples and crossed the Sea of Galilee. The narrative reads, open quote, open quote, and when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he saith unto them, Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? Matthew 8:23, close quote. This account appears in Matthew's section demonstrating the authority of Jesus. Chapters 5-7 present his authority in teaching. Chapters 8-9 display his authority in action. The storm on the sea becomes another revelation of who he is. The text begins with Jesus entering the boat and the disciples following him. The disciples were fishermen familiar with the Sea of Galilee, yet Matthew describes the storm as a great tempest. The Greek word seismos suggests a violent shaking, often used for earthquakes. The sea was so violently stirred that the waves were covering the boat. In the midst of this chaos, Jesus was asleep. This detail is striking. While the sea raged and the boat was overwhelmed, the one through whom all things were made rested undisturbed. His sleep reflects complete authority and confidence. The storm that threatened the disciples posed no threat to him. The disciples approached him with urgency. Lord, save us. We perish. Their cry acknowledges his power, but also reveals their fear. They believed the storm would destroy them. Jesus first addressed the disciples rather than the storm. Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Their fear contrasted with the authority present in the boat with them. The presence of the Messiah meant the situation was not beyond control. After speaking to them, Jesus arose and rebuked the winds and the sea. The language of rebuke is often used when confronting forces of disorder. With a word, he brought the chaos into submission. Immediately, Matthew says, there was a great calm. The storm had been great, and now the calm was equally great. The suddenness highlights his authority. The sea did not gradually settle. It obeyed instantly. This moment echoes imagery from Israel's scriptures. In passages such as Psalm 107:29, it is God who stills the storm and quiets the waves of the sea. By commanding the wind and the sea, Jesus acts with the authority attributed to the Lord himself. The disciples recognized the significance of this act. They marveled and asked, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? Their question points to the unfolding revelation of his identity. Throughout Matthew's gospel, the answer becomes clearer. The authority seen in his teaching, his healing, his forgiveness of sins, and his command over nature reveals the presence of the promised king and the arrival of the long-awaited kingdom. Within the narrative flow of Matthew, the calming of the storm also symbolizes the authority of the Messiah over the turbulent conditions surrounding Israel in that generation. The prophets often used storm imagery to describe upheaval among nations and judgment coming upon the land. In this setting, the one who commands the sea demonstrates that the forces shaking the covenant world were subject to his authority. Matthew's audience, living within the tension of that approaching crisis, would recognize the significance of the Messiah's power. The one present among his disciples possessed authority not only over sickness and demons, but over creation itself, and over the unfolding events that would soon bring the old order to its appointed end. The disciples' question, What manner of man is this? Stands at the center of the passage. The answer unfolds through the gospel. He is the Son of Man who possesses all authority, the Son of God in whom the promises to Israel are fulfilled, and the one through whom God establishes his everlasting reign. The storm obeyed him because all authority belonged to him. His word carried the power that once spoke creation into existence. When he rebuked the wind and the sea, creation recognized the voice of its creator. Thus, Matthew presents a scene in which the raging sea, the terrified disciples, and the sudden calm all testify to the identity of Jesus. The authority of the king extends over every realm, teaching, sickness, demons, sin, nature, and history itself. And the men in the boat were left in awe, asking the question that the gospel continues to answer. What kind of man commands the wind and the sea? The narrative reveals that he is far more than a man. He is the one whose authority brings order out of chaos, whose word establishes peace, and whose presence reveals the arrival of God's reign.